Hi all, Gaia Guardians. Welcome back. Today I just want to contemplate and riff on the 35th gene key, a really magical and elusive gene key whose Siddhi is boundlessness, right? Even just that word, it's like we think we know what that word means, but we really don't, because the mind really can't encompass what boundlessness is. And this key is the shadow of hunger to the gift of adventure to the Siddhi of boundlessness. And it is known as the codon ring of miracles. It's one of the only codon rings with one singular key. Normally there's a grouping, 2 to 5 or 6 keys that make up a codon ring. This is a singular ring. Also, it's known as wormholes and miracles for good reason. So with this key, it's almost like you have to soften and almost let go of your intellect to begin to grasp it. And it's a key that I think requires a lot of penetration to really get to the heart of it. And actually with all these keys, I don't know that you ever really finish exploring them, because you know what I recognize with the gene keys, this one's been on the ride for me for years now. And I feel like it's just beginning to unravel in itself in a way that I am now able to kind of translate and then share some of that information with you. But these keys, as I've stated before in my other videos, they're a living field. And what I mean by that is the more attention, the more that you give your energy to them, the deeper they unlock within you and the more they expand you. So I can read the same gene key again and again, and then I'll go back to it, you know, months later and read it, and it's like I'm reading a gene key that I've never read before. It's like I'm receiving codes that are opening, unlocking with me that I never was able maybe to actually receive. So it's really interesting how it continues, this field, this living field continues to shift as we shift our consciousness. So the shadow of hunger, I mean, we can see this particular shadow everywhere, right? So literally, the hunger to feed ourselves, to satiate ourselves, to have enough, like we are gluttonous, like we can't get enough food in the Western culture. We can eat so much that we're over full, even when knowingly in other parts of the world there is starvation happening. And yet we will overeat and overfill ourselves, you know, and then look at it from the perspective of hungering for more, always, always, always for more. It's like we're never satisfied. We're voracious, that no matter how much we take in, we're not really fully digesting the nutrients of that which we're creating. And so this is it's really interesting to contemplate and to gain some perspective on our actions here. The way that we hunger through our life can cause us to continually be overfilling ourselves with distractions so that we don't have to feel the gnawing hunger that no matter what we fill up with is never quite sated. So I invite this inner exploration to happen whenever you are desiring something and you actually get that thing. How long does it actually satiate you for before the next desire, the next hunger for the next thing pop up? Because it causes us to live in this perpetual state of wanting. never being, never feeling satisfied, never feeling filled up. It's always just birthing a new desire within us. And in that, we are not present with the magic of the moment, the adventure of the moment. Like, can we really digest what life is giving us right now, even if it's not what we want or hunger for? What if what is being served on our plate is something that we don't like or don't want? How do we then actually sit with that and allow it to teach us about what it is we are truly searching for? And how about if we can sit in this emptiness and not try and fill up, and observe all the hungers, but not try to fill them with anything? So this shadow, right? Like, you can almost see this, it's got a very addictive quality to it. And those addictions can be really overpowering. So there's an invitation. The way I worked with this is like really seeing all of the things that I thought I needed to feel full up, to be sated, to be satiated. And as I started to bring awareness to that, it kind of was a rude wake-up call. Yeah, we can be so distracted by all these things that we don't even stop to recognize that we're empty inside, that we're actually starving from real nutrients, from real nutrition. And so I feel like that's the moment that you get to begin to really, really choose with some awareness what you're going to feed yourself, what you're going to surround yourself with, what you're going to put in your mouth, what thoughts that you're going to give credence to, what words are you going to speak. Because if you're just adding to more hunger, then it's probably better that you just be silent. And in the bringing awareness to all of these things that I was hungering for, you know, I think one of the big ones is a home. A huge one is a partner. You know, of course, all the material things, a certain level of status or power within the culture. You know, these things, just think of, you know, quote unquote, the American dream, and how we're not really seen as any kind of contributor to our culture unless we've attained a certain amount of things. You know, people who actually extract themselves from that lifestyle of attainment can often be ostracized and very misunderstood. And I can speak to that space because I definitely was one of those people. When I had a recognition that everything that I was filling myself was actually causing me to be more and more empty, and this inner indigestion started to happen, because when you start to recognize that you're just filling yourself with junk, it's like you want to fast. It's like that. Like, I need to fast from all of this stuff. I need to pull back, find some quiet, find some solitude, like really just let go of all of the things that I was hungering for, and allow those sensations to move through my body as I created some awareness around them. And to just watch and observe all of the things that your mind pops in that it wants. It's endless. It's endless. It never ends. So you can spend an entire lifetime chasing the things that you want to try and satiate that hunger, and nothing ever does. Because you recognize, and you can all think of moments of when you got exactly what you were hungering for. When you actually got that thing, that person, that place, that trip, that money, whatever it is, you got it. But inside you, nothing changed. Nothing changed. So when you can be aware of that, it begins to change how you look at what you think that you want. You begin to observe the thoughts of the mind, all of the indoctrinated ideas of what you're supposed to want, and you begin to see it for what it is. It's emptiness. It's not fulfilling, you know, and it's that awareness that what you're looking for, you think it's going to give you a feeling, right? You're looking for the feeling of peace or safety or abundance or freedom. You know, what is underlying the desiring of what you're looking for? What kind of food are you looking for to fill you up, whatever that might be? And how do you want to feel when you get that, right? Because that's your key. How do you want to feel when you get that? And if you do this over time, what you start to recognize is that you're searching to feel full, to feel like your life has some meaning, to feel beauty, to feel love. But what takes time to realize is that you've got to source that from within you, because the things that you're hungering for are outsourcing, and it's never going to fill that void. And so as you open to that, then the gift of adventure starts to open. And when the gift of adventure starts to open, the world is brand new. You begin to enter the realm of synchronicity and miracle. And for me, this gift, it opens in layers. There's layers to it. The gift of adventure, you start to see the miraculous in the mundane. You start to see the things that you were distracted from before. You become so present that I'm watching the birds right now that are literally flying through the leaves of the trees. I see the clouds and the mountains, and I see so much life happening right in front of me in this moment. And I can feel the freedom of the vibration of the present, of the different consciousnesses that I'm witnessing, and I can feel it within myself. So this gift of adventure is like, I get to feel life. I get to feel life in all its myriad of forms, joyfully dancing and playing just because there's so much life force moving through it. It gets to play in this realm of having a separate self and yet being connected to everything, and having this grand adventure that can only be had when you separate yourself off from your source for a moment and see who you can become as a creator, the great adventure, the hero's journey, and this place of pure potential where you're birthing your life through you. And the more that you're playing with this, the more that your consciousness is moving in this way, seeing this miraculous in everything, that's when the wormholes start to open. That's when you begin to touch and taste that aroma of boundlessness. You don't know what it is. You can't grasp it. You can't define it. But you can begin to sense it. You can begin to feel into what it is to like move beyond the confines of this three-dimensional matrix structure. It's like your consciousness kind of begins to skip beyond or move beyond the construct that has been so solidly conditioned in. It begins to break down in a way, you know? And I've had so many experiences, but one of them that I'll just share is that it's almost as if I would go out in the woods or the forest, go out in nature, and I could see all the beings that I couldn't see before. It was like the fairies, the gnomes, the spirits within the insects, I don't even know what to call them. There's just so many magical fairy-like creatures. And there was definitely points when I'm like, am I imagining this? Am I going crazy? And when in fact, it was like, the message was like, can you let the magic of life back in? Because if you're boundless, everything that you can fathom, imagine, and create is a real realm. And you begin to touch boundlessness, right? With that, everything that you can imagine, everything that you can taste is a real realm. We are so confined to a three-dimensional structure, a matrix that is limited. And so for us to begin to touch the adventure of boundlessness, we have to begin to break down that structure. It has to begin to be dismantled from the inside out. So you're dismantling this hunger from the inside. You're beginning to touch into what it means to feel the adventure. It's a frequency. It's inside you. This adventure, for me, it's like, has almost like a little sparky electricity in it. It feels a little bit like an electrical spark going up my spine, right? Kundalini energy, because that's what happens when you touch into the fact that you can create. You'll start to touch into the Kundalini life force, the Shakti, this feminine life force that is birthing life through it. It's electric and it's magnetic, right? The masculine and the feminine, they start to come together in this creative dance, this electromagnetic current that as you're doing this, as you're living the adventure of life, as you're opening up new realms and vistas and imaginations and creations, you start to feel this energy that begins to move through you. You begin to literally dismantle, tear down the layers of construct and programming and conditioning and everything you've been taught. And what happens is your consciousness, your heart, your solar plexus, everything starts to feel open and expansive. It's like you're letting more light in, more creation in, more God source, more higher self. You're literally letting it in and plugging into the truth of the source of your life, of your soul, of your life force. You have unplugged from the old way of being, and you're plugging back into the infinite well that is boundless creation. And so this process continues. It continues to unfold within me. And this time on the planet right now, we're in October of 2024. I have never felt the expansiveness that I'm feeling now. I fully am settling in to this deep silence, but also recognizing it's like within this boundless primordial womb space, within the silent, all potentials exist. Everything exists here. And the boundlessness that is the consciousness that I call my identity, I wouldn't even call it my identity, that I call my consciousness, is beginning to plug into what it means to be infinite. And this key of boundlessness, you know, Richard talks about this as the one place in all of your DNA where you have the power to fully wake yourself up. This is the place, the Siddhi, that you actually can move through that portal, that wormhole or wormhole within, that you can actually wake yourself fully up to your creator consciousness. You know, a lot of the Siddhis, it's like they happen spontaneously. This one is you actually, as your higher self, you consciously plugging back in and awakening yourself. And what a beautiful awareness to just reconnect to, that as you shed the layers of identification with feeling bound, being bound to a construct that didn't really allow you to be you in your fullness, in your expansion, but you have the power to then unplug from that and move forward, unplug into source consciousness, which is boundless. And it's funny, I just did a little video on Instagram on the Gaia Guardian about this. As I was meditating last night and this morning, and tapping into, when you tap into that state of grace that is boundless expression of source consciousness, it's like you get little threads that come in of the ego or the mind that want to immediately shrink you down and make you small again. And there's times where it's like you're so connected to source, but you also are connected to ego mind, and it almost feels like a battle between the two. And what I was realizing as I was in the state of my meditation is what a beast the ego can be, how deeply indoctrinated that the hive mind of limitation is within us. And so it takes some practice to strengthen the muscle of perseverance and persistence of being in your presence and your precision and your stability as you're being refined in this process. We are all being refined right now, you know? And though I'm talking about it in the context of this gene key, the themes of this year for me have been revelations. And the revelations just keep coming, and there's just this rapid acceleration, and we are breaking through all of the bondage of all of the old stories right now. And it's happening so fast. And sometimes it almost feels like I can barely catch my breath, because the sheer magnitude of being, I wouldn't say holding boundlessness, but of allowing what it is to let that boundless higher state, that vibrational frequency come into your body. It definitely feels like a part of you is being annihilated, and there's a really strong part of your ego that does not want to let go of that. It is a threshold that is not easy to cross, I'm going to say, and it's completely your nature to cross it. I've had moments of it being so soft and just letting go of it, coming back into life, having the ego, you know, reinstate itself, and having moments of feeling like I'm in this internal battle. And so I express all this because these are the things that you might go through. This has been my path. That does not mean it's going to be yours. All of the beings who we have been doing this work for a while and have been really anchoring these higher state of consciousness, for those who may be beginning this path, it's going to be easier. That's the message I got. It's going to be easier because we've already plugged the pathways of light into Mother Gaia. And so it's going to be easier for you to tune yourself into the frequencies that we've already seeded within the earth. So the most important thing is just have the intention to do so. your intention behind everything you do, your actions, your intention behind your words, your intention behind your thoughts, your intention behind your creations, like really get precise with those intentions. Really understand the precision of your own energy. This is how you become a master at creation, right? And we're not here to create the things that we're hungering for. We're here to create the adventure that is life lived in a boundless way, in service to all life, in service to creation. What really feeds you and nurtures and nourishes you. And that which does will also feed everything and everyone around you. This reciprocity with our energy, to know that everything that we put out energetically will be at some point a boomerang that comes back to its point of origin. And so if you're a being who knows that and really embodies that, and you spread that, it is like a virus of peace. Because when you know that all of your energy returns to its place of origin, you will not do anything that defiles that energy or hurts anyone. Because you recognize that it is a part and a piece of you. You know, and this just begins to touch on some of these infinite creations around boundlessness. You know, so many of the world's problems that people worry about may be able to be solved from a place of your boundlessness. Once consciousness reaches this point, there will be solutions to things that we cannot touch with the state of consciousness that we embody right now. So as we raise our consciousness, Gaia raises her consciousness. The universe raises its consciousness. Everything is touching and connected to everything else. So you can be not attached to anything, but connected to everything, you know, without judgment, with an open heart, with a curiosity to the adventure of this unfolding story that we're all living. So allow it to be a little lighter. You know, there's a reason that all of the distractions out there on the world stage are based in worry and fear and calamity and chaos. Yes. And can you trust how chaos is organized in a perfect web for all of us to live this adventure? Your perspective on everything is pivotal. Continually to shift your perspective to see from the highest perception. You know, it takes practice. Begin to strengthen that muscle of what it means to be a boundless creator. It doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what you read. What matters is your practice. What matters is your stillness. What matters is what your energy field is holding and projecting out into the world. That matters more than anything. So be with that, practice that, cultivate that, become strong, become clear, purify yourself of the addictions, of the hungers of this world. And you'll find a whole new world opening for you that is majestic and glorious, and it will become, all of it will become fun. You'll be able to play again in this magnificent garden, endlessly creating. So, every time I talk about one of these gene keys, the energy just comes in and it lights me up and it teaches me, and I don't even know what I'm going to say, and I just let it flow. And so I hope somehow that this key has touched you. I would love to know your experience of this key. It's magnificent. I love the 35th gene key. I want to say it's one of my favorite, but whatever one I'm contemplating becomes my favorite because they're all connected in this great and beautiful tapestry that we're weaving. So if you've stayed with me for all this time, I thank you. I cherish you. Thank you for doing this work. I feel when more people come into the field I feel how it strengthens and stabilizes me. I send out strength and stabilization for all of the things that, you know, each person individually is traveling the path of in their journey. And this is how we do it together and support one another. So thank you for being here. Until next time, aloha, blessings, and much love.